yogi, and they're really caught up in that. The Bhagavatam is letting us know that's fine.
Is it audible, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Video also screen visible, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's appropriate for those that are caught up in that. And that for them it is critical. But one who has advanced further in consciousness, it's not. Because those that are, where it's not critical, they're depending fully upon Krishna, and Krishna delivers. He makes the rules, he breaks the rules. Or he makes exceptions to the rules. He's ultimately the deliverer in any case. So for those that have lesser faith, there's rules. And those that have greater faith, that's the ultimate rule. That carries one to the spiritual position. So, once again, O king, whenever the yogi desires to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about the proper time, place, but he should comfortably sit without being disturbed, and, regulating the life air, should control the senses by the mind. So, he's telling Maharaj Parikshit, you're about to die, here's the method. Don't worry about time and place. Don't get disturbed by those kinds of calculations. That is a distraction. Place your attention fully upon the personality of Godhead. You must control your mind and senses. Fix your consciousness upon the personality of Godhead. You'll achieve your destination. Such devotees do not need to seek an opportune moment to leave the present body. But those who are mixed devotees, avoid with fruitive action or empiric philosophical speculation, require an opportune moment for quitting this body. Stated in Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter. But these opportune moments are not as important as one's being a successful yogi who is able to quit his body as he likes. Such a yogi must be competent to control his senses by the mind. That's going to be elaborated next. How to control the senses by the mind. The mind is easily conquered simply by engaging it in the lotus feet of the Lord. Gradually, by such service, all the senses become automatically engaged in the service of the Lord. That is the way of merging into the Supreme Absolute. Now, I was using this language, merging into the Supreme Absolute, not in the Sayuja Mukti sense, but in the full detachment from material involvement sense, and fully fixed in devotion to the Supreme sense, in that sense. Okay. So the next topic in the next two verses is this term labdho prashanti. Labdha means obtain. Upashanti, the shanti means peace, and upashanti, coming to that, or coming near to that position of the supreme peaceful situation. That which people want. They want to be peaceful and contented and happy. Everybody wants. So here's how that love to prashanti can come even in the face of imminent death. Very valuable instruction. Thereafter, the yogi should merge his mind by his unalloyed intelligence into the living entity, and then merge the living entity into the super self. Now, again, this doesn't mean the jiva becomes Paramatma. That's what it means. It means that the consciousness of the individual soul exclusively goes to the Supreme. The mind doesn't go to material contemplations, it goes fully upon the eternal soul, the soul to the Supreme Soul. By doing this, the fully satisfied living entity becomes situated in the supreme stage of satisfaction. That's this Labdha Upashanti. And he ceases from all other activities. Because that's so satisfying, one doesn't need to do other things because other things are meant to bring a satisfaction. Your satisfaction is complete. There's no impelling urge to do anything else but that one thing. Just like Dhruva Maharaj. What to speak of doing other things? He wasn't even moving. He stood on one leg. He wasn't eating. He wasn't drinking water. He wasn't sleeping. He was barely even breathing. And he wasn't feeling pain. Oh, this hurts. He was in ecstasy. He was seeing the Supreme Lord within his heart at every moment. Purport. The functions of the mind are thinking, feeling, and willing. When the mind is materialistic or absorbed in material contact, it acts for material advancement of knowledge, destructively ending in discovery of nuclear weapons. Meaning, when the mind is contemplating enjoyment, it may very well come up with something that's not enjoyment. But when the mind acts under spiritual urge, it acts wonderfully for going back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, the mind has to be manipulated by good and unalloyed intelligence. If one's intelligence is contaminated and falsely constructed, then it will not be able to guide the mind properly. So therefore Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one who studies the sacred conversation is worshipping me with his intelligence. One's intelligence is becoming purified so that then the mind can be properly directed. Perfect intelligence is to render service unto the Lord. Then there's a very interesting sentence, you have to listen carefully. One should be intelligent enough to understand that the living being is, in all circumstances, a servant of the circumstances. Or, the way that Prabhupada writes this in first canto, that 19th chapter, I believe. He says that real happiness comes when one places oneself in full dependency upon the Supreme Lord. And he says, the living entity is always dependent on something because he is so constructed. By constitution, the soul is a servant of Krishna. So we're dependent upon Krishna. But if one chooses to not depend upon Krishna, you'll be dependent upon material circumstances. Because the material circumstances are created to give us a lot of stuff to do. Keep us really busy. Because we don't want to serve Krishna, then we'll have to serve the material circumstances. And be dependent upon them. And then when sometimes there's happiness, they change, it's unhappiness. That changes, it's mixed happiness and unhappiness. They're just being tossed around like piece of wood on the waves of the ocean. The wave goes up, the piece of wood goes up. The wave goes down, the piece of wood goes down. And depending upon the circumstances, one's condition of happiness and distress is all over the place. And it's exhausting. It's not satisfying. And it doesn't end. There is an option. Place oneself dependent upon the Supreme Lord. Then the material circumstances can be whatever they are. I'm dependent, my happiness is dependent upon my relationship with the Supreme Lord. So he says the same thing in a different way here. One should be intelligent enough to understand that the living entity is, in all circumstances, a servant of the circumstances. That's in the material condition. So we can recreate the natural circumstance, which is to turn our attention to Krishna. But because we're constitutionally servants, we're a servant of circumstances, or the servant of the Creator, who makes all circumstances, spiritual and material. In the material condition, every living being is serving the dictates of desire, anger, lust, illusion, insanity, and enviousness, all materially affected. But even while executing such dictations of different temperaments, he's perpetually unhappy. Now the spiritual side. When one actually feels this and turns his intelligence to inquiring about from the right sources, he gets information of the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Instead of serving materially for the above-mentioned different humors of the body, the living entity's intelligence then becomes freed from the unhappy illusion of materialistic temperament, and thus, by unalloyed intelligence, the mind is brought into the service of the Lord. So, that's an expanded explanation of this idea that the yogi, by his unalloyed intelligence, should bring the mind to the position of being obedient to the soul's desire to serve God. And then the soul becomes prompted by the indication of the Supreme Lord, surrender unto me, and he surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. So then the intelligence and the mind are being properly utilized. The mind isn't causing you disturbance. It's the means of liberation. In all systems of yoga, the function of the mind is critical. To purify the mind, to elevate the mind, to fix the mind. Different disciplines are there to help bring the mind to the right position, at least to the neutral position, but this is beyond neutral position. Because even in the neutral position, something can come along and disturb that neutrality. Therefore, and here's a curious sentence, the unalloyed intelligence and the mind are merged into the Lord, and thus the living entity does not remain a seer himself, but becomes seen by the Lord transcendentally. So, it's what's going on here is that the seat of consciousness is the soul. Like the sun radiates heat and light, the soul radiates consciousness. The soul is the center of consciousness. When Krishna consciousness, Krishna becomes the center, and what was important for the devotee is not the enjoyment of experiencing objects, but the joy of the devotee is being seen by Krishna. Bhaktisiddhanta spoke like that. Don't try to see Krishna, But act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. It's another way of saying the same thing. It's here. Let what's the central most important thing for every individual is myself. Let that central important thing be Krishna. When Krishna sees me, let him smile. And then I will be the most happy. Not when I see Krishna, then I will smile. And I will be the most happy. It's a different consciousness. It's this consciousness of a servant. Let the Master be pleased. When I come before Krishna, Krishna should be so happy. Now Krishna's not, I don't think, so happy. Because I have all this stuff, all this contamination. When the living entity is directly seen by the Lord dictates to him to act according to Krishna's desire, his desire. And when the living entity follows him perfectly, the living entity ceases to discharge any other duty for his illusory satisfaction. So that's this Labdo Prashanti state. The Labdo Prashanti state, saying, go to the discussion earlier. This Labdo Prashanti state is aspired for by the meditative yogis, where they're experiencing satisfaction and bliss by no longer banging their head against the wall of trying to enjoy the material circumstances. They've just made that neutral by giving their undivided attention to the Supreme Lord. That's their Labda Prashanti state. The devotee goes further. Because even from the practicing stage, I may not see the form of Supersoul, but the process of bhakti, which I've taken up, allows me to more and more and more and more desire to be absorbed, mind, intelligence, and soul, exclusively in the service of the Lord. When one has that, the desire is, let Krishna see me and be pleased. And when one is in that state, Krishna does give indication, this will please me. And when the devotee has no other interest than the indication from Krishna,
Hare Krishna Prabhu, we will stop here today. We'll start the discussion. If anyone would like to share anything from today's section.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
One point, Prabhu, here. So Maharaj mentioned when we will get real happiness. Real happiness comes when oneself is fully dependent upon Krishna. So Maharaj has given example of waves also. So always happiness, distress will come. When we are completely depending on him, that is the real happiness, Prabhu, I want to share. And Maharaj mentioned last, what is the process of bhakti. So this means completely mind and intelligence absorb Krishna only, clearly mentioned. So always we should please Krishna. That is the process of bhakti, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Very nice points you shared. Sir, anyone would like to share?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So
Hare Krishna.
there was one question like from so many years, like what are the properties of soul? So Maharaj once mentioned in the lecture today, like soul radiates consciousness. So that cleared my concept, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you for sharing. Nice. So,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Chandan Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Please go.
Prabhu, sorry, I joined little bit late. So whatever I listened, as per that, I liked one thing. Mostly, service means we understand like we have to do something with our physical body. But Maharaj Ji was telling we should like do the service. We should engage our body, mind, and intelligence, everything in the service of the Krishna. So this is the like takeaway point for me, and I will meditate upon that. How I will use my intelligence and mind. Body sometimes I use, but how I will use my intelligence. Sometimes okay, giving classes and all, and trying to understand Bhagavatam sometimes, but not mostly. So in all the daily activities and other things, I will try to use my intelligence in the service of Krishna. I will meditate how I can use that one. That will be like my thinking point and takeaway point. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Chandan Prabhu, for sharing nice realization. So, Madhavi Sundar Mataji, would you like to share anything?
No, Prabhu.
Okay. Madhumati Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Maharaj was like saying, what the devotee do, what's the difference between the devotee and non-devotee. They also enjoy, but they are like, according to Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they are saying their enjoyment is like center is a Krishna. So I want to share this point, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for sharing. Nilima Mataji, would you like to share anything today?
Like Hare Krishna Prabhu, I could connect with the first point that Maharaj said, that we need not worry about what time and all. Krishna will take care of it. For us, it is, for practicing devotees, it is our faith in Krishna. That is the main rule. And I also like that Maharaj said that we have to be seen by Krishna, not otherwise. That's all.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for sharing.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Prabhu.
Mataji. Yes, Prabhu. Please go.
Yeah, for me, the takeaway point is that when we go in front of Krishna, say, for us it is deity of Krishna, so we should bring the smile on Krishna's face. But now I have so much of stuff to clear, so much of contamination is there. So those are the things I should work. And how Krishna becomes happy, I think the indication which I last point Maharaj said was when we lose interest in the sense objects or sense gratification, it's an indication that Krishna is smiling. That's what I understood from the last point where you paused. And in the initial point, Maharaj was saying about strengthening our intelligence, because intelligence is fixed, then mind will follow accordingly. And that is possible by reading Shastra, by reading of words of Krishna. These are the few takeaway points, Prabhu, and I think I'm able to connect internally all these points today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for sharing. Yes.
Krishna Prabhu.
So here one more point, if we choose like not to depend on Krishna means we have to depend on material things. So automatically we will do everything and we will observe in a different way. So we should depend on Krishna so that automatically remaining things will be taken care. And Maharaj told one more point, like don't try to see Krishna, but act in a way such a way that Krishna will see you. So this is the mood I think we have to cultivate, as Maharaj said. To be here, one more point, like question kind of, Labdha, Prasanti and Upasanti are different, or how the peaceful situation will be there? I just want a clarification from you. Like,
Okay, we will ask Shamkunda Prabhu. Or anyone would like to share this question answer as Ashok Prabhu is asking? Before coming to the question, anyone would like to share any comments today? Shamala Mataji?
Prabhu, I didn't listen with focus, Prabhu. During the day, I will listen and share the points later, Prabhu. But one point what Ashok Prabhu also shared, no, that word I heard in this inattentive also, I could hear the sentence that we should always think about work in a way that Krishna will see us. That one I heard, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Sharbari Mataji, would you like to share anything today?
Hare Krishna Prabhu is the same point that we should not be, our motive should not be that Krishna should see, we want to see Krishna, it should be that Krishna should see us and feel happy. So that was the most, the statement I like the most today. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for so, Harisham Prabhu, would you like to share anything today?
I think most of devotees shared, Pro. So I don't have anything specific here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Vinodini Mataji?
Nothing from my side.
Shamkund Prabhu, would you like to share?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Just a slight elaboration and maybe a slight I don't know how devotees would treat it also, but anyway, I'll just say that. A nice point which came out today, which everybody said here, is that we have to see the smile in Krishna's face. And somehow or the other, it so happens that we are so conditioned that by whatever we do, we want a smile on our face. We want to do activities by which we become happy. And it takes quite a lot in terms of circumstances in life, in terms of training, that we want to see the smile in Krishna's face. One example here. When Hanuman was about to make the jump from Mount Mahendra all the way to Lanka, Jambavan said, Hanuman, you are the person who has all the strength. You have forgotten that you have strength. But you are the one who has the strength, who can cross the ocean, which is 100 yojanas, which is like 800 miles, which is whatever, some 1,500 kilometers, something like that. And then Hanuman then realizes, oh yeah, I had this much strength, and due to a curse, he had forgotten that. As soon as he realized that he had that strength, he said, yes, for the sake of Rama, I have to do it. And he grew in size. And when he grew in size, he said that by my size, I cannot jump from the ground to Lanka, because I need a propelling force and the ground cannot withstand it. But the mountain has a lot of rocks. And therefore, these rocks are much more stronger. The ground will not, when I push myself down, the ground will cave in. But when I go up to the mountain, there are so many rocks, they will not cave in as much. So he started climbing the mountain. And when he started climbing the mountain, in that mountain, there were these Vidyadharas, there were these sages. The sages were there in the caves in the mountain of Mount Mahendra. And they all ran away. The sages were present there so that they can get liberation for themselves. In other words, they wanted to connect to the absolute, but they wanted the smile on their face that, yes, I have seen the face of the absolute truth. Hanuman is wanting to see the smile on Rama's face. And so he climbed up, and when he started going up, the sages had to move out. In other words, when a Mahabhagavata devotee like Hanuman comes into the picture, those who are the mediocre devotees, those who want a smile in their face, they will be at some point in time, they will be put to test. That they had to, they have, just like the sages had to leave their comfortable caves. Of course, cave is not a comfortable thing, but they had become very comfortable in staying in the cave and trying to meditate on the absolute truth. Just like these sages had to go into their discomfort zone, likewise, when an acharya comes, others may also be into the discomfort zone, because an acharya is here to show to us that we have to put the smile on Rama's face. And it is for this smile on Rama's face that the monkeys fought against Ravana. Many of the monkeys died. And it's a different thing that all the monkeys who died at the end of the war, they are brought back to life. But it is a great thing to die for the Supreme Lord. I mean, that's the extent to which we have to be ready to please the Supreme Lord or to put a smile on the face of the Supreme Lord. And that's not easy. It's very, 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 very tough. So that's one side of it. The other side of it, or an extension of it, is something. I mean, I'll just tell it. You're all close friends, I'll tell it. But I don't know how people would take it, but yeah, I'll just say this as it is. Please don't construe other meanings here as such, but this is what I'm having in mind. One of the ways in which people have to learn or in general, the vast majority of the people and those who are aspiring devotees like me and all of us, we all have to learn here is that in the process of giving the smile on others, on the face of Krishna, we also have to put the smile on the face of other devotees. We have to make them feel happy. We have to do whatever it takes to make them feel happy. And making them feel happy is not like somebody tells us, you do this and therefore I do it. It's going beyond the call of duty and say, I do whatever it takes to keep it happy, to make the other person happy. So it's Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Both have to, the smile should be seen on their face. And I'm happy just with the smile on their face. So recently there were some devotees here in this group, in this morning call. I did scold them in one sense. I had requested them, can you do something here? And I had to ask the first time, second time, third time, and then I told them, a good devotee is not the one to whom follow-up is required. Once told, you just do it. And a great devotee is the one whom you don't even have to tell anything. He or she will do it without being told anything. They try to understand the heart of the person whom they're serving. So there's a reason that I'm telling it this way. The reason I'm telling it this way is way back, when I met Maharaj in 2000 something. Then in 2003, I requested to him, Maharaj, can I be your disciple? I was there with him for 2-3 years, and then I said, can I be your disciple? He said, fine, I take you under my shelter. 2004, I went back to US again. I went to Dallas. And Maharaj came there. He stayed in the temple. I thought, I'll go and meet him in the temple. And the first thing that when he reached the temple at some time, and I was at my home. My home was like some 10 kilometers, 5-10 kilometers away from the temple. And I get a call from a devotee in the temple. They had my number. And they called me and said, Maharaj wants you to come to the temple. And they said, this is the message from Maharaj. The disciple should wash the clothes of the spiritual master. And that he should take care of the needs of the spiritual master. So you have to come here. That's it. Of course, a person who comes from a very cultured background, a person who comes from a training of devotion would know it. I didn't. My thought was, yes, yeah, I'll just go and then I'll hear a lecture of Maharaj and do it. But that was his training, and that's what I'm trying to inculcate in others. Of course, there is a downside in it. In trying to do it, it may so happen that people would feel, hey, this person is trying to put himself in the center and get it. But sometimes we have to pass on how we are being trained to others too. So I just start with, you may like it, you may not like it. I just thought I'll share this. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for sharing this.
We very much like it, Prabhu. Thank you so much for being in our lives. Thank you.
Yes, I liked it also, Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
I mean, liking is one thing, but very honestly, when I have to do it, it's so much tough to say those things and to do it, but we have to bite the bullet. And one day, each of you may also have to do it to somebody. But it is a tough thing to do it. But we have to do it. And while
Prabhu,
doing it,
when you say this,
yes.
when you say that it is difficult to say, but we have to do it, I'm just remembering Krishna, Uddhava says that Krishna is killing all the demons like Duryodhana and all those things in that place. Prabhupada writes, Krishna was not happy killing Duryodhana and all the others, because everyone are part and parcel of Krishna, and they are not. He's not very happy killing them, but still he does because he can reduce their offense and all other reasons. So I see your act in a similar way. You might not like it, but you are doing it for our betterment. You scolding us is not what you like, but it is for our betterment. So thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, that's true, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Any
Hare
last
Krishna, Prabhuji. So those whom you don't scold, that means you don't care for them. Just the lighter side, Prabhu.
No, ideally one should not do such things, but it's when it goes to the extreme, we'll have to take care or do it that way. That's it.
Shamkun Prabhu, there is a question from Ashok Prabhu. So would you like to comment on that, Prabhu? Labda Upashanti or Shanti something?
No,
Ashok?
no, I think it is just Labda Upashanti. I think in the transcript, this AA transcript doesn't do it properly, fully. So somewhere that made it Prashanti. There is nothing Prashanti here. It's Labda Upashanti only.
Okay.
AA transcription problem. I mean, many such proper nouns, AA doesn't do it properly. That's it.
Ashok Prabhu, you are okay with that?
Yeah, okay, Prabhu. I think while Maharaj saying also we had like Prasanti, so maybe I thought like that, but yeah. Okay, Prabhu, again I'll check it. Thank you. Right.
So I think we are 7:12. Shall we close today? Or any would like to share last minute comments? Thank you all for joining once